The Pyrenees rise like a fortress, towering walls of stone, snow-bitten peaks, a land where time itself feels like it never moved forward. And inside this mountain cradle lives one of Europe's strangest mysteries, the Basques. A people unlike any other in Europe, a people whose origins remain unsolved, even in the age of DNA. Spain couldn't explain them. France couldn't explain them. Even Rome and the Moors failed to leave a mark. While wave after wave of migrations reshaped Europe, Bronze Age herders, Celtic tribes, Roman legions, the Basques resisted. Their DNA looks frozen, locked in place while history spun out of control around them. And their language? It's not Spanish, not French, not Indo-European at all. It's Euskara, a tongue with no known relatives, a linguistic orphan, a fossil that still speaks. So who are the Basques really? Are they Ice Age survivors, descendants of Europe's very first hunters, or something older, something that goes deeper than DNA itself? Stay with us, because the deeper we look, the stranger this story gets. And before we dive in, hit subscribe. At Savage Past, we uncover the ancient mysteries still hidden in your blood, the secrets empires couldn't erase, and the stories history books forgot. Now, let's go back to when the world was frozen. 30,000 years ago, most of Europe was uninhabitable. Glaciers swallowed the north, forests died, populations collapsed. But not here. Not in the Franco-Cantabrian refuge, modern northern Spain and southwestern France, exactly where the Basque homeland lies today. Here, humans didn't just survive, they thrived. In caves like Altamira and Acain, they painted the walls with bison, horses, and red deer, images that still glow under torchlight, paintings older than the pyramids. Some of these murals date back 30,000 years. Created at a time when most of Europe was silent, extinct. The Basque homeland was already alive, already humming with resilience. And even earlier, before Homo sapiens, this was Neanderthal country. But what makes the Basque homeland unique is this: it was a genetic reservoir. When most of Europe's people disappeared into the ice, this place kept human life alive. The Pyrenees protected them. The valleys fed them, and when the glaciers finally melted, the ancestors of the Basques were still here, ready to step out into a reborn Europe. That's why scientists call them Ice Age survivors, and that's why Basque DNA looks different from almost everyone else's in Europe. Fast forward to 6000 BC, a revolution was coming. Not an army, but farmers. From Anatolia and the Near East, carrying wheat, barley, sheep, and goats. Across Europe, they replaced the hunters. Britain, Germany, Italy, all swept by the farming wave. But not the Basques, not entirely. At El Portolón Cave in Atapuerca, scientists dug up skeletons between 3,500 and 5,500 years old. And in 2015, DNA analysis revealed something extraordinary. Those bones carried genes from both Neolithic farmers and Mesolithic hunters. Elsewhere, farmers almost erased the hunters. In the Basque homeland, the two fused, a delicate balance. Hunters plus farmers, old plus new. That balance created the unique Basque DNA profile still seen today. Half ancient Europe, half Neolithic migrant, yet preserved as if sealed in stone. And after that, something rare happened. Isolation. The Pyrenees acted like a wall, but the culture inside those valleys was just as strong. Villages grew tight-knit, traditions hardened, and intermarriage inside those circles preserved their genetic code like a vault. When researchers compared the DNA of those Neolithic skeletons to modern Basques, they found an unbroken line of continuity stretching over 3,000 years. Almost no other population on Earth shows that kind of stability. So when you look at a Basque today, you're looking at a mirror of ancient Europe. Now here's where the story gets even stranger. Around 2500 BC, a new people thundered out of the Pontic steppe. And here's the kicker. Today, nearly 70 to 75% of Basque men carry the same Y chromosome haplogroup, R1b-DF27, one of the highest concentrations in all of Europe, and it's shockingly uniform. Geneticists think it spread from a small founding group about 4,200 years ago, and then froze in place. That's why scientists sometimes call the Basques a living time capsule. While Europe kept shifting, their DNA stayed still. Other influences, like tiny hints of North African lineages, exist, but they're threads, decorations. The core Basque code never changed. What sets them apart isn't isolation, it's insulation. They absorbed just enough to endure, but resisted everything that would erase them. If DNA tells us how the Basques endured, their language explains why. It's called Euskara, and it has no family, not Spanish, not French, not Indo-European at all. Think about that. Every major European language, German, Italian, English, Russian, even Persian, belongs to the Indo-European family. But Euskara? It stands alone, a ghost tongue, the last survivor of the languages spoken before Indo-Europeans stormed across Europe. Linguists have tried for centuries to crack its code. Some thought it linked to Georgian in the Caucasus. Others pointed to Berber in North Africa. Some even stretched as far as Sumerian in Mesopotamia. But every theory collapses. Euskara refuses to fit. It's the linguistic orphan of Europe. And the fact it's still spoken today by around 750,000 people is a miracle. But here's where it gets stranger. Euskara isn't one language. It splinters into 5 or more dialects. Some so different, speakers from one valley can barely understand the next. And yet, despite those differences, the structure of Euskara has barely changed in thousands of years. It resisted Latin. It resisted Arabic. It resisted Spanish and French crowns. Even when it was banned in schools, whispered only in homes, Euskara lived. It is not just a language, it's a firewall. And their myths are as unique as their DNA. High in the Pyrenees, caves were said to belong to Mari, the mountain goddess. She wasn't a distant, untouchable deity. She was here, visible, a woman with long hair, or a streak of fire cutting across the sky. Mari controlled storms. She rewarded truth. She punished liars. To a people who prized resilience and honesty, Mari wasn't just a goddess. She was survival itself. Beside her was Sugar, a serpent or dragon. He represented storms, lightning, raw male energy. Mari brought permanence. Sugar brought change. Together, they were balance. A mirror of what genetics now shows us. The Basques preserved but adapted, just enough to endure. Then there were the Gentile giants. According to legend, they lived before Christianity. They built the Great Dolmens, massive stone tombs still dotting Basque hillsides. But when the Christian cross appeared, the giants vanished into caves, hurling stones as they retreated from the world. Here's the twist. Archaeology confirms those dolmens date back to the Neolithic and Bronze Ages. The myths weren't fantasy, they were memories. Other spirits filled the Basque imagination. Lamiak, river nymphs with bird-like feet. Sorjanak, witches who served Mari in secret rituals. Beings who explained storms, fertility, and misfortune long before science existed. But these weren't just bedtime stories. They tied the Basques to their land, to their rivers, caves, and mountains. Every myth was a map of survival, and when you compare the mythology to the genetics, it lines up. Continuity, antiquity, resilience against impossible odds. So what does all of this add up to? Modern Basques resemble Iron Age populations almost exactly. Their genetic profile hasn't shifted in over 3,000 years. around 70% of Basque men still carry that R1b-DF27 lineage, a genetic echo of a small founding group 4 millennia ago. And yet, when you compare them to their Spanish or French neighbors, the difference is clear. The neighbors absorbed steppe DNA from the Bronze Age. Basques didn't. Rome stretched its roads across Europe. Its legions smashed tribes, crushed languages, and redrew maps. But in the Basque country, the empire cracked. Roman armies fought bitter campaigns here. Julius Caesar himself noted how fierce the mountain peoples were, unbending, impossible to tame. The Romans left forts, coins, and shattered weapons, but they never erased the people. Instead, they adapted. Rome built cities like Pompeii, modern Pamplona. They paved roads to link valleys. But inside the homes, Euskara still whispered. In the hills, traditions stayed untouched. And when the empire fell, the Basques didn't. They watched Rome burn and carried on as if nothing had changed. After Rome came the Visigoths, sweeping down from the north. They controlled Spain, but not the Basques. Every attempt to rule the mountain valleys ended in revolt. Then came the Moors, crossing from North Africa with fire and steel. For centuries, they ruled Iberia. Palaces in Cordoba, libraries in Toledo, gardens blooming in the desert sun. But their power stopped at the Pyrenees. The Basque homeland never fell under Moorish control. Euskara wasn't touched by Arabic. Their DNA shows almost nothing from those centuries of conquest. Even the Vikings, who raided coasts from Ireland to Spain, left no mark in these mountains. Their ships could burn villages, but they couldn't climb into the heart of the Pyrenees. The Basques endured, not by building great empires, but by outlasting them. Every storm that broke Europe broke outside their walls of stone. But the Basques weren't just survivors, they were explorers. Long before Columbus sailed west, Basque fishermen hunted whales in the Atlantic. They reached Newfoundland by the early 1500s, centuries ahead of most of Europe. Archaeologists have found Basque shipwrecks in Canadian waters, their iron cauldrons still resting in the deep. They salted cod, they boiled whale oil, and they built a trade empire in silence, long before anyone else realized how far they had gone. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Euskara was banned in schools. Speaking it in public could get you punished. During Franco's dictatorship in Spain, Basque identity was outlawed outright. But repression didn't kill them. It hardened them. Families whispered Euskara at dinner tables. Grandparents passed songs and stories in secret. Each word became rebellion. Even today, the Basque flag, the Ikurriña, flies as a symbol not just of culture, but of survival against erasure. And here's where science loops back to the story. Modern geneticists still find that Basques form their own cluster, separate from Spaniards, separate from French, separate from everyone. Even in the age of globalization, when populations mix faster than ever, Basque DNA holds its shape. That stability isn't accidental. It's cultural survival written into blood. When you protect your language, your traditions, your marriages, you protect your genome. And the Basques have been doing that for thousands of years. Every genetic study confirms the same thing: continuity. From Ice Age hunters to Neolithic farmers to Bronze Age survivors, right into the present. It's not just that they resisted change, it's that they chose which changes to accept. They built a culture strong enough to filter history. So who are the Basques? Are they the last descendants of Ice Age tribes? A fusion of hunters and farmers? Or something even older, a relic from before Indo-Europeans, before Neolithic, before history itself? No study has solved it. Every answer only deepens the riddle, because the Basques aren't just genetics. They're not just language, they're both. And together they form a paradox, a people ancient and modern at once. That's why scientists call them a time capsule. why empires feared them, and why even today their story stirs something in us. The Basques are proof that survival isn't just about strength, it's about identity. Hold on long enough and you become untouchable. Stand together long enough and you outlast everything. The mountains kept them, the myths shaped them, the language preserved them, and the DNA carried them through every storm of history. So the next time someone tells you Europe is a story of conquerors and kings, remember the Basques, the people who never bowed, the bloodline that refused to vanish, the last whisper of Ice Age Europe, still alive today. This is Savage Past. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the next video and subscribe, because history still hides its secrets in places the world forgot.